But today, in our society, with the principles our society has laid down, there's no basis for saying Hitler was wrong, and so we're going to repeat the same thing again. The question is, and the question behind Hitler and behind the problems we have today is this: Where did this come from? How did it get here? And your answer to that question will determine what your answer to this question. We've looked at a lot of things Hitler did. We say they're wrong, but I'm saying we don't like those things, but how can we say they're actually wrong? How did this get here? What did Hitler believe? A long time ago, about 14.5 billion years ago, what happened? There was a Big Bang, yes. It was a Big Bang. And here we are. So what do you call that? Chance. Chance. We're just here by chance. What does that mean if we are just here by chance? Because this is what Hitler believed. Hitler had this view of reality that we're just here by chance. If we're just here by chance, is there any basis for understanding that anything is right or wrong? Anything. You see, as far as Hitler's concerned, Hitler spoke in using moral terms to whip up emotion. And he would have used this term, but he didn't have a basis for it. And his understanding of reality, just chance, just nothing explodes, and 14.5 billion years later, here you are, just by chance. What are you worth if that's the case? What are you worth? My phone is worth about 25 quid. Right? Sorry? Where'd I get the phone? Oh, it's old. The battery's nearly done. It barely goes for a day and it's had it, like, and that's if I don't use it.
That's like the Uner.
Thanks. But would you believe that a mobile phone, with all its tiny circuitry, with its software in all its different forms, could come together by chance? That it could just poof, pop up and be there in all its complexity. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that's a probable idea? Honestly. No, it isn't, is it? It's nuts. No one really believes that, unless we talk about something far more complex. The most complex thing on this street is not a mobile phone. Everyone's got a mobile phone today, right? But the most complex thing on this street is not a mobile phone. The most complex thing on this street is you. It's us. And our complexity is so incredible. The idea that this could come about by chance is not rational. It is so improbable as to be nuts. Does anyone know? Anyone know what this might be? Pardon? Jeans?
No, I like
jeans with a G.
DNA.
Does anyone know what DNA stands for? Do not have a clue? No? Design, not accident. Right? Why would I say that? It's a code that is more complex than our computer code that we have in our phones and our computers. Much more complex. And this came about by chance, really. Where does this lead us? It leads us to we have no value because we're just chance. We're just pond scum that's become something else. But on the other hand, if there is a creator who exists and who has spoken, then we have a basis for saying Hitler was wrong. If we're just here by chance, well, we just don't like what he did, but we can't say it was wrong because there is no right or wrong unless there's a God there to tell us. You see, you have your opinion, I have mine, you have yours, we all have our own opinions. Well, big deal. The only way we can know if something's right or wrong is if there's a creator God outside us who made us and tells us. Otherwise, it's just one opinion versus another, a big deal. So what? Was Hitler wrong? It depends how you view the world, how you view your neighbor, how you view yourself. What are you worth? If it's just a big bang, you have no value. If God created you, how much are you worth? How much are you worth? If God made you, how much are you worth? Let me show you. Because He has actually told us how much we're worth. He came here some time ago, right? And they wrote it down using the technology they had at the day, technology we still use today. It's called a book, right? You even have books today on your mobile phone. We still use it today, right? And his name you know what his name is, huh? Yes, the creator's been here. What's his name? I'm sure you've heard it before.
Jesus.
Yes, Jesus, right? He is the creator. He's been here, and he's been here to show us who God is and what God is really like. You know, he says, love your neighbor as yourself. Is that a good thing? Well, if God tells us, it is good. He says, murder is wrong. He says, but I tell you, if you hate your brother from your heart, if you're angry with him, you come under the same judgment as a murderer. He says, adultery is wrong. But I tell you, if you look at someone with lust, you come under the same judgment as adultery. He said, you know, you're quick to judge others, but be careful because you got your own problems. And he said, the ultimate standard for God is this. Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Can you be that perfect? Nope. Me neither. Right? That's a problem. So what he did was, he spoke about our problem alone. We use a word to describe this problem called sin. You know what sin is? Sin is an old term from archery, right? You're pulling out your bow and flying arrows across, right? And if you hit the bullseye, it was called a bullseye. But if you missed the bullseye, it was called sin. Anything that's missed, that's not perfectly on target, is sin. And we all miss the mark. We all get it wrong. And we're all pretty much the same. You know, regardless of who we are or what we've done, we do different things. There are things we should do, we don't do. Things we do, we shouldn't do, that we do. And things we say, we shouldn't say, and that we should say, we don't say, and so on. But what's the real issue? The real issue is that we reject him as our king. And we're treasonous. We're treacherous. We're wrong. And our society today is wrong because we follow the principles Hitler followed, and Stalin and Lenin and Mao and Pol Pot and Chavez and Maduro and all those guys. But how much are you worth? If we're not here by chance, if the Creator made us, what are you worth? Let me show you. Jesus put it this way. You can't be perfect as your Heavenly Father is perfect. It's not possible. And the penalty for our rebellion, for our treachery, is death. So Jesus, loving you so much, took your place. He died for you because you, young man, are worth dying for. And those two ladies beside you are also worth dying for. Everybody, as far as Jesus is concerned, is worth dying for. They put Jesus on the cross. Let's see, I'm going to run out of room here. But Pilate put a notice on the cross, the Roman governor, that said, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews, who is the Creator God." That's the notice Pilate put on the cross. And Jesus gave his life for you. It says that without the shedding of blood there can be no forgiveness. And Jesus shed his blood for you because that's how much you're worth. That is how much you're worth. If there's a creator who has spoken and his name is Jesus. Otherwise, if this world is just here by chance from a big bang, then Hitler wasn't wrong, because nothing's right or wrong. And there's nothing really wrong with murder. We might not like it, but it's not wrong. Because there's no basis for saying anything's right or wrong unless there's a creator there who tells us otherwise. Pardon? Sorry? Who? Now, where did Moses get the idea that murdering was wrong from?
Fuck her right in the pussy.
The fire in the bush. He got it from God. God spoke to him. That's what I'm talking about. The Creator God tells us what's right and wrong. Without him, we have no basis for saying anything's right or wrong. And today, Jesus is our only hope. If Hitler was wrong, our society, following the same principles as him, that everything's just chance from a big bang, then there is no right or wrong. And bad things are going to happen. Bad things are happening. It's going to get worse. How many people died in the Second World War? Over a 6-year period. Do you know how many? A high estimate is 65 million. That's a high estimate. Okay? Do you know how many people are being murdered by one particular method every year in our world today? According to the Lancet magazine, British Medical Journal, 73.3 million. That makes this guy look pretty good. Of course, he wasn't good, was he? Can we say he was good? Can we say he was bad? You say he was bad. Why? Because he killed people. But why is that wrong? Because he killed them. No, that's an opinion. That's not an argument. You see, the only reason we can say he's wrong is because the Creator says that you're made in his image and you have value, and to kill you is wrong. So Hitler was wrong. But if there's no Creator there to tell us what's right and wrong, you can't actually say that Hitler was wrong. Look at what Dawkins says in his book. The universe is impersonal. It doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't give us any basis for meaning, for truth, for knowledge, for right or wrong. But if God's there, we have all of that. And today, he calls you to turn to him as your king, to change your mind. Otherwise, you're going down the same road as Hitler. Right? And that's where our society is going. It's running down that same road. And it's a different flavor. There's no swastika flying around. There's no jackboots. But it's the same poison with a different flavor. This isn't the end of the story. Jesus died to pay for your sin, but that's part of the story. They took him down off the cross. And what they did then was, they put him in a tomb, put a big rock in front of it, and they buried him. On the third day, the ladies came to the tomb to embalm the body. And the rock was rolled away, and when they looked inside, Jesus was gone. He's alive. He broke the power of death. Now people today think, oh, crazy, no, well, why? Well, because that never happens, does it? But if it happened this time, we should pay attention. And there is evidence that you can look at today to see if this really happened. If Jesus rose from the dead, what he said is true. If he did not rise from the dead, what he said was highly questionable at best. It all hangs on this. Did Jesus come back from the dead? If he did, what does it mean? First of all, what he said was true. Another point, which is really important and most people miss, is death is not the end. Right? Because he couldn't come back from the dead if it was the end. Right? Death is not the end. So that gives a bit of hope. What else does it mean? It means he's the judge of the living and the dead. It means we won't get away with it in the end. We need him to step in for us. What else does it mean? It means that everyone who turns to him as their king, he credits to your account his goodness, his righteousness. So that when God looks at you, he looks at you without guilt and with the perfect acceptability of Jesus Christ. Is that a good deal? It's called good news, right? And it doesn't depend on how good you are. It depends on what he's done. All he asks you to do is to believe him. Believe him. Not a church, not a religious organization, but him. The Jesus who was dead but is alive, the one who created you, the one to whom you're accountable, the one who tells us what is right and what is wrong. And therefore we can say Hitler was wrong. Hitler was wrong. But today in our society, with the principles our society has laid down, there's no basis for saying Hitler was wrong. And so we're going to repeat the same thing again. It's happening. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who wrote the Gulag Archipelago, said the same thing. He warned the West. He said, be careful because you're going in the same direction as the Soviet Union because you're working on the same principles. Today, what are you going to do? Are you going to follow Hitler or are you going to follow Jesus?